What's up, reefers? In today's video, I'm going to be doing a little bit of storytelling. I'm going to talk about why and how I first got started in this hobby and some of the people that were really influential to me to get to the point that I am today. So I started my first ever aquarium, a freshwater aquarium, about 3 years ago in my dorm room in undergrad. Now, starting this tank was not even my idea originally. My roommate suggested that we get a fish and just put it in a standard traditional goldfish bowl. However, I ended up staying up all night researching everything there is to know about freshwater fish, and the next day I ended up buying all of this fancy equipment and decorations, and I was so excited. I bought a beautiful blue betta fish. Turns out, despite staying up all night trying to research everything about freshwater fish, I wasn't as thorough as I initially thought. I didn't know anything about the nitrogen cycle, and I didn't know that bettas don't like any flow in the tank, or at least limited flow, so my betta fish ended up dying a couple of days later. Now, this was super tragic for me. I had never killed a little being in my life. I was very, very upset, and I vowed to never kill another fish again. So I ended up changing out a few things in my tank and changing my fish to a school of neon tetras. I ended up making that tank very successful. I still have those neon tetras in a tank in my house. I find it really hilarious. I decorated that tank to look just like a coral reef with little plastic corals and everything. It's so cute. But after a few months of keeping this tank stable and happy, I got kind of bored. I wanted something a little bit more challenging. Freshwater is quite simplistic in the care and information you need to know. So I decided I really want to eventually start a reef tank. When I was little, I always dreamed of having a reef tank. I remember visiting the aquarium with my parents and seeing the most beautiful aquarium I've ever seen. And I told my mom, one day I'm going to have a reef tank just like this one. And she said that, oh, don't even think about it. They're extremely difficult to keep. You'll never be able to keep one. So I always thought keeping a reef tank was next to impossible, and I didn't think that I would ever be able to start one. But because my freshwater tank was starting to bore me a little bit and I wanted something new to learn about and something new to research and start up, I started looking into learning about everything there is to know about saltwater aquariums and reef tanks in particular. I did this for many, many, many months, and I just felt like I wasn't comfortable enough to start my own aquarium. I felt that I had enough knowledge to start an aquarium, but at the same time, I thought I knew absolutely nothing. There were so many things to learn about. I found it so overwhelming. I just never thought I could ever really start one. But then one day I randomly decided to visit this new fish store that specialized in saltwater aquariums that I'd never been to, that was really close to where I lived. So I visited the store, and it really changed my perspective on things. The staff was so friendly, and I think I hung out there for something like 2 or 3 hours, which is crazy because the store is so tiny. But the staff was so friendly, and they walked me through everything, and they finally just made me feel comfortable with taking the leap and getting a saltwater aquarium. So for the next month or so, I researched all of the products that I would like to have for my tank, and I settled on the BioCube 29 gallons because it kind of made all the equipment and all the processes that you need for saltwater tanks very simple. There weren't many selections or options that I could add, and then I ended up buying it, and it arrived a week later. Once it arrived and I set everything up and started to get the tank cycling with my rock, I was very patient, which I think led to my success that I had early on. Nothing really went wrong for months, and it was all going according to plan, so I just kept getting more confident with the hobby and just growing to love it more and more every day. The biggest help I had was that local reef store. They walked me through everything, and to this day they walk me through everything. So they're probably the greatest help. I owe everything to this store. And I was documenting the progress of my tank on my Facebook page because that was really the only social media I used at the time. But I felt like I was really bugging my friends because I don't think many people on my friends list really enjoy the hobby as much as I started to. So I decided one day to make an Instagram to post pictures and videos of my aquarium for my friends that actually cared to see it instead of bothering everybody on the newsfeed. And after starting this Instagram, I think my love for the hobby really kicked off because I didn't anticipate that people would enjoy looking at pictures of my aquarium. I mean, I was such a newbie, and to this day I consider myself a newbie, and I just get a lot of feedback from people saying that they really enjoy the pictures I post, and they are asking me for advice and all sorts of things, and that means so much when I really am new to this hobby just like everybody else that's asking me these things. So I really enjoy that. It's allowed me to talk to a lot of people who also share this hobby like I do. And it even just gave me a hobby in general. I never had a hobby before this. People are always saying, oh, go get a hobby. I just had nothing that really interested me. So finding Reef Aquariums really changed my life and allowed me to combine my love for photography. I'm not really good at it, but I enjoy taking pictures with reefing, and this has led to a whole different set of hobbies like my Instagram and now my YouTube, which are really fun for me, and I'm just really happy that I started this and had the courage to begin, because a lot of people make it out to seem like starting a saltwater aquarium, particularly a reef aquarium, is just next to impossible to do, and this is so far from the truth. If you do your research ahead of time and have the help of somebody to guide you through it like I did with my local fish store, it's really not as difficult as it seems if you want to make it happen and if you really are dedicated to doing it. So I only started this hobby 3 years ago, and I've only had my first saltwater tank for 1 year, but I thoroughly enjoy it. And although the story behind how I started my saltwater aquarium is not that interesting, I just wanted to share it and give a little backstory about how I personally started. If you guys enjoyed this video of my story of how I started my reef aquarium and what got me into this hobby, make sure to like the video below. If you have any questions for me or any suggestions for any future videos you would like to see, post those ideas in the comments below. Also, don't forget to hit subscribe to see more videos like this in the future.